goofy song for you. Keep chatting. This is just hangout time. We're not officially starting, but for our session, I had a little song. The problem's all inside my head, she said to me. Blended learning's easy if you take it logically. Your LMS helps your students in their struggles to achieve. There must be 40 ways to teach with your LMS. She said it's not my habit to intrude. Furthermore, I hope my meaning won't be lost or misconstrued. But I'll repeat myself at the risk of being cool. There must be 40 ways to teach with your LMS. There must be 40 ways to teach with Canvas or Google Classroom or Schoology. And here's how: just put some self-paced grace in your blended lesson plan. Scan, don't forget your LMS. Just listen to me. Try out the groups, troops, where class teams can discuss much. Just make your quiz keyly and set yourself free. Put some self-paced grace in your blended lesson plan. Stand, don't forget your LMS. Just listen to me. Try out the groups, troops, where class teams can discuss much. Just make your quiz keyly and set yourself free. I said set yourself free with your LMS. Well, thank you for indulging my goofy songwriting skills. Let Karen Richardson start us off officially.
So welcome everyone. I am Karen Richardson. I guess I can stop introducing myself. I can't stay because I have another gig I gotta do down in the exhibit hall. I did want to get in here to just start by saying, this is another one of those times where they always say, don't sit next to me at a meeting because I find stuff for you to do. But it's just because I sit at such great tables, and these 8 women are some of those people. We had the opportunity through a grant from Virtual Virginia to set up this regional professional development group. What you have are representatives from each of the regions. We've been doing professional development for the monthly meetings that Instructure sponsors, and we're looking at other opportunities to continue the program through the spring. So they're going to get lots of feedback from you. There they are, wonderful people. I think our Crystal and Tracy in virtually. I see their happy faces. There we go. Mecklenburg County in the house. So there are opportunities potentially for you to get involved with these groups as well. I'm going to turn it over to them. This was wonderful. I pitched the idea. They all said they'd do it, and then they just ran with it. So they developed logos, the whole thing. I'm getting out of the way.
So,
Thanks, everybody.
my name is, thanks, Karen. And all of this is because of Karen, and my name is Emily Heller, and I am our Region 3 rep on the coaching crew. And I just wanted to give you a little history. Karen kind of reached out to us, and she wanted to start what she was calling the Virtual Virginia VSTE Regional Advisory Group, and we've kind of morphed into the coaching crew, which we love. And some of us have just met today for the first time face to face, so that's exciting. And when we met the very first time, she kind of said she had 3 big goals. One was to really improve the communication and networking within the regions regarding the work that VSTE and Virtual Virginia are doing. Second is to improve our online presence. And third is to maybe work towards starting some regional events, maybe like a fall and spring regional event. So we've been meeting monthly, and we've been working on that. Primarily, we've been sharing ideas and starting to present, like Karen said, at the Virtual Virginia monthly regional state meetings, and that's been really fun. And so we try to come up with topics to share with you guys as coaches that hopefully will be helpful takeaways. And we started working towards talking about the 40 different ways of using an LMS, and we've been kind of expanding that. So I think we're up to maybe 42 already. And we shared out a couple of those tips at our November monthly meeting, and so we're continuing that here with some things today. And I'm going to hand it over to Joy and let her introduce the rest of the crew and kind of lead today's session. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you. So just going back a couple slides, there is a bit.ly, and that's also a link for our virtual participants. If you're not using a phone, you want to click on it. The QR code will take you to the resource guide for this session. So how this is going to work, we've got our coaching team, and we're going to take turns doing some demos. And then in between the demos, we're going to have some breakout discussions because a big part of our mission is to connect with the region and to design experiences that support what ITRTs and tech leaders and teachers are facing in their regions. Because let's face it, there's all kinds of aspects to Virginia, and every division, every region is unique. So we're trying to be more personalized in our approach. So when we do a presentation, that'll be whole group. When we do the breakouts, hopefully we're in regions by 1, 2, 3, 4 here, 5, 6, 7, 8 over here. And we have chart paper that we can grab if you'd like to write. Just we want to kind of capture your thoughts on our prompts. You don't have to participate in those discussions. If you want, there's also a Google Doc. So for each prompt, if you'd rather just type and not discuss, you can put your thoughts on those.
And Joy, we have some people joining us online, so do we want them to just kind of jump on the Google Doc and we'll try
We
to
have a
look at that?
virtual Google Doc. So I have the Google Docs about regions 1, 2, 3, 4, and so those are in pairs instead of in groups of 4, but there's a separate virtual doc. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to take that data and use it to drive the rest of our work as we work together. So thank you so much for being a part of shaping the future in this session for Virginia with the VSTE Coaching Crew. So just wanted to go ahead and introduce Ann Nash.
Sure, so I'm Ann Nash, I'm the representative from Region 1, and I am in Henrico County, and I've been an ILC for 16 or 17 years, something like that. COVID is kind of like, you skip a year and you're not really sure anymore. But yeah, I'm really happy to represent our region and share things at our meeting and help meet your needs.
And I am Patty Gillum. I am the coaching crew member for Region 4. And I'm with Manassas Park City Schools. I'm an instructional technology specialist, the instructional technology specialist, if you know Manassas Park City Schools. Been in education with instructional tech for 20 years. So looking forward to connecting with more folks from Region 4. So don't hesitate to reach out.
And like I said, I'm Emily Heller. I'm the Region 3 rep. I am an instructional technology coach in Fredericksburg City Public Schools. This is my 5th year as a tech coach. I was a middle school math specialist for 4 years before that, and I taught both middle school and high school math for a number of years I won't say right now before that. So glad to be here and join this crew. It's been a lot of fun.
And you are a VSTE board member too.
I'm a VSTE
don't
board
forget.
member.
I'm Joy McDonald. I'm from Rockbridge. I'm the online learning coordinator for our division. And I too am a VSTE board member. In a past life, I was a band director, so that's what that whole getup was about. But my principal instrument is French horn, so just hope you bear with me with playing guitar. So.
Okay, I'm Karen Weaver. I'm the instructional technology administrator for Franklin County Public Schools, which is just down the road, not to be confused with Franklin City, who Felicia is from Franklin City and represents Region 2. But I represent Region 6, and it's just what I appreciate about this crew is the ability for us to collaborate across the state and sometimes what can feel like an isolated role in your division, that we, especially in some of the Region 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this group over here, we don't have as many ITRTs, and so it's just nice to be able to see and collaborate with what other regions are doing.
So you guys are ours. You guys are
Do we
theirs.
have anybody online?
So online, can you guys introduce yourself? We've got Mecklenburg. If you just want to.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Okay. All right. My name is Crystal Elmore. I'm an ITRT from Mecklenburg County Public Schools, and we're very excited to be here. So we're going to kind of man the virtual group.
And I'm Tracy Sykes. I'm from Mecklenburg County Public Schools also, and I'm an ITRT.
Thank you guys for covering the chat. Yes, appreciate everybody being here. We talked a little bit about our regional collaborations, working with Virtual Virginia. We do work with Canvas, but recognizing that the entire state is not using Canvas, this and our presentations have sought to include all LMSs, even in the lyrics. So just a couple screenshots just from our Zoom meetings from several of our regional collaborations. We'd like to have more participants, we're getting up there for each region, but they are Zoom calls that I'll show you how to subscribe to the calendar. And the last slide has a link to join the December 15th meeting, and that's all regions together.
And that's an ugly sweater day.
That's right, thank you. So,
Christmas.
yes, should be fun. So hopefully we'll get your face in some of these screenshots coming up soon, but some of these regional collaborations have drawn from teacher input on what types of sessions and what experiences and what you need. So the biggest request was, how do we take what we did in 2020, learning this LMS, and use it in the face-to-face classroom? Because it is truly, it's not for pandemic learning, it's for all learning. So that kind of inspired us to it was a Canvas document, which is linked in one of the resource guides, but we made our own 40 ways. So when you go to the bit.ly and open this resource, it's a Google Doc that has all of the ways numbered, but if you see a number that is underlined, then we have a resource guide for that. So our goal is to keep expanding and building this out. Right now, we'll show you several of those resource guides. Each one are tagged. We have tags at the top, but one that I have not gotten in there yet is the teacher feature. You know what it's like in the classroom that teachers want to hear from a peer. Coaches are very powerful, but the peer is always powerful too. So we're working to get teacher features. So we've got a lot with a hashtag teacher feature. Some would be an admin feature, but where they're talking about how they used it in their classroom. So it's been really powerful. The first ones to present were a PE department from Mecklenburg. So, you know, you have a great video there for your PE teachers to inspire them to use Canvas or any LMS. So when you click on those linked files, this is the resource guide, just kind of what it will look like. And some of them, so like Strategy 22, we've got Canva graphics in there. So, you know, you can use that in anything you want to. So hopefully we're taking care of everybody's unique needs for this. And I also I started adding this isn't a tag, but it's just in the resource guides, a go big feature. So that signifies that this is a higher level skill. So certain things you want to have entry level, but we also want to cater to some of our higher level users. And I think that also inspires your entry level users to see the possibilities. And when I think about that, I think about learning guitar in the 90s, and Under the Bridge came out by Red Hot Chili Peppers. I could not play that song, but it inspired me to keep working on it. And that you want to do with your teachers too. They can see the possibilities and start working towards it. So that is what we're going to feature today and include featuring in our regional meetings. We always ask for your input. So if you've got some ideas and you're like, I want to see how this works in the face-to-face classroom, please send it to us so that we can start creating some things to support what you're doing. So our first feature.
Our first feature is talking about gallery walks. So again, I'm Ann Nash, and I represent Region 1. And gallery walks, as you know, give students the ability to kind of get in a small group to talk about an artifact, discuss and learn, and then move to another, and then rotate around and do some more discussion with a small group. You can do this virtually as well in any LMS that you're using. In Henrico, we actually use Schoology. And so when I started looking at Canvas and how that works, it's a little bit different from how it would work in Schoology. So the resources that are available right now, there is just a video that kind of tells you more about the strategy itself. The video just describes the face-to-face, like the in-person, on the wall, gallery walk, moving around. And then there are a couple articles from Edutopia and Facing History, because the gallery walk doesn't always have to be about the student work. Gallery walks can also give you an opportunity to share artifacts that you want students to learn from. So looking at some of those primary sources and other documents that you just want students to investigate a little bit deeper without, within a small group, to have those collaborative communication with a small learning community. So, and then I did put directions in here for Canvas because so many people are using Canvas, but also for Schoology because so many people still use Schoology. Now, I mentioned it's a little bit different. So in Canvas, if you're familiar with Canvas, when you go in, or one way to do this would be to use a discussion. So the teacher could say, if you're going to have students submitting their own artifacts to discuss, set up a discussion board and just have the students submit their responses. And in the Canvas text box, there's a rich text editor where you can actually insert your image or insert that artifact that you want students to discuss. And so every child can then upload their artifact, and then you can just have your small groups go through the discussion responses and look at each one and add the comments to each child's artifact. So that works really well in Canvas. In Schoology, the discussion box doesn't have that add image button like it does in Canvas. There are workarounds, but it's a little bit more cumbersome. So a better way to do a gallery walk virtually in Schoology would be, I don't know which button to pick. And a different way to do it in Schoology would be to use the media album feature. Media album is really cool, and I find that a lot of teachers don't use this yet. When you add your material, you're adding a media album. What's important is that, sorry if you're using Canvas, but what's important for this one is that you leave the comments on. So under the options, you have the publish, the green button, so it's shown to students. And then you have the comment button. That's where students are going to be able to virtually add their comments on the artifact. So like in a discussion, they'd be just adding a discussion post. For Schoology, they need those comments. And then the last button, you need to make sure that is active so that students can add their own artifacts as well. Now, if you're just having them look at historical documents or other instructional materials, then you can turn that off, and then you as a teacher can upload the specific materials you want them to see. But if you're going to have students actually contributing to the media album, it's important to have that last option turned on. So then you save your changes and go to the Add Media button, and if students are able, then they will also be able to add their media. And then they just upload their file, and then this is what it's going to look like. So here I have an example of an artifact. And since I was the one who uploaded this particular one, the user who uploads the media can then edit the caption. If you can see the edit caption in the middle on the sidebar. So that child who uploaded their artifact can then give a little more context to what they are submitting. Okay, so now we have done the prep for the virtual gallery walk, similar to how you would in a discussion board where students uploaded their artifact and put a little text in there. So now our small groups can come around and use this bottom right comment feature to add their thoughts about what they're viewing and have that small group discussion as they're moving around for the gallery walk. So very similar to a discussion, just a little bit of a different way to use this feature comparing Canvas and Schoology. Whew.
I like the title Nasha.
Yeah, so that's my newsletter for my teachers.
So this was one of the most upvoted of the strategies on our document. So thank you for developing that after the last meeting where it was upvoted. But now the next part of our presentation is to shape the future. So we'd like for you to discuss this prompt in your region groups. I'm going to try to figure out for online, I think we'll have to use chat because we never figured out how to, if they're talking on Zoom, it's going to broadcast here. So we would hear them. So
have a breakout room.
you want to use can they do a breakout room?
Do that.
Okay.
Like break it. You try it.
All right. If you want to try that, we'll see, because that'd be better if they could actually talk and get to know people. So so with our options, we're going to break out with our coaches. So we'll be here with you guys. Just would like to hear kind of, what's going on, meeting people in your region. Now we can use chart paper, or again, if you want to get on the Google Docs, but if you guys want to grab some chart paper and markers, how about 8 minutes? No, we'll do 5 for this one. So you guys,
All right, so who's region 1, 2, what school systems are? Okay, 3. 3.
Everybody, so is anybody
And
else?
4?
We're from Region 6.
Yeah, we're
We're from
three.
Region 6. Is anyone else from Region 6?
Wait, who are the threes? Do I have any threes?
I did not have
It's me.
You're welcome to hang out.
I don't know what region I'm in.
Spotsy should be 3.
1 is over here. 1, 2.
And we could split up if you guys have a lot.
Yes, Emily, if you want to help me too, since you don't have any threes,
Where is it two?
because I think.
over there.
Actually, you're dead, you're
We're
dead.
not-
I
I'm supposed to be over there, I'm 4.
No, we're good. A general, general conversation. What's going on?
That's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so put them all together, I thought.
So the prompt is, if you want to move your chairs a little bit, you know, we're kind of giving the room. So if you're all region like 3 and 4, just not
You guys region 3?
introduce yourself. Maybe tell where you're, you know, what school district you're with, if you want to share what LMS you're using. Are we a mix of LMS or all channels, all where you are? And then maybe something that's working really well. I think it's just staying with the.
I think I told you this yesterday. I'm on our media center.
Which one?
No,
you said, I was like, you can say, well, what do you want to go with?
Oh, yeah. Are you?
Yeah, my color is I-N-I-T-R-T.
But they can record,
Yeah.
What's going well
using your LMS and a Facebook.
Awesome. So how's it going?
I'm sorry.
So, how often do you get other technology?
Okay, so let's see what we have represented. You might have positive.
And are you an IT?
So I know we have Manassas Park. Representing.
In your day-to-day job.
Right next door.
I'll say our division does it very, so Keith Spokane is our main ITRT and she meets, sometimes I feel like daily with the ITRTs.
There's
You know,
no
that's one of the things that we have in our division, our ITRTs are. So they're in different schools, different days, but
Using it exclusively
for the
face-to-face.
benefits of the pandemic,
Anyone else?
now
I've
we
had
have
some
teachers
teachers
using
awesome.
like,
So these
like
are
anywhere
really
and
like
and they have, they created their own canvas boards for ITRTs, like a handout course for all of our teachers in the whole division. So it literally is like one-stop shop for anything that they want to have. But I think just the, that daily interaction, and sometimes it's a quick meeting, sometimes it's an all-day meeting,
Canvas
but
or.
they really are able to collaborate on some things across our.
Are you in Canvas?
Are they?
Okay.
And we're great
So
discussion.
what did you said about?
In the elementary classroom, Canvas is
Many of us
figure out how to put
Contract
that
are using great
Canvas into the elementary school, but we
Last year you guys were
Connecting
on.
with.
Canvas is new for us this year.
Yeah.
And they've not said to our teachers. So,
Other districts.
I have been working with our own individual schools to help them see the value in it so that
We
they can
definitely
start
are.
utilizing it
It's
now.
not just gonna be.
So that next year when they probably
So
say,
tell us
hey, you
some
have to use it,
things.
they're not sitting there going.
How many of you?
So we're trying to
prior
have
to
transition.
and all of our secondary has been using Canvas for.
My kids are.
A lot of the teachers in my particular schools,
And I know Prince William, you guys were.
have started using it as their tasks for
Smart
the day.
ahead.
So they go to
Right as
math
the pandemic.
and their, you know, math, they select Monday and these tasks are in there.
Well, I do believe I may
That
have
was a really
sat
simple way
at
to
dinner
tell
with
them,
you
hey,
at
This conference
2019 where.
I've been able, I think it's really good to connect with people.
Right, there you go, right?
Cindy and I've talked about like learn.
So, exactly,
Most
so
teachers
I
are
know
using
you.
Areas that our division needs to work on and how far ahead other teachers are in other areas. But I know Casey and Dave are starting their training in January. Like Dave's gonna run one, session and Casey
We've
will run
actually
another type of
been-
session. And they both said that that's gonna be good for like ITRTs, for anyone that's gonna be doing interacting with teachers in the classroom, that type of thing.
And Chris and I,
So-
of course, if you're familiar with Manassas Park.
So as far as
So we are the campus
functionality, do you think the student functionality is better than modules, or do you think buttons are
We
better?
are now going back and seeing the campuses increase.
I would say third and below.
That's probably one of our biggest
Because
challenges.
I definitely agree, teachers would, I mean, they should be working on modules, but.
Doesn't UVA use?
Have that and sort of retrain some of our teachers. What are some other things? What are things that are going well with Canvas when you're working in that face-to-face classroom? You come back, do you all have longer virtual?
Ours is turned off, so we can dine
We don't
see it.
But what things are going now?
Does it look good?
To come back and you're doing more of that face-to-face.
We haven't turned it on, we have it in an environment that we looked at it.
Paperless, okay.
Yeah, we've been trying to.
Her site has committed teachers all around.
Awesome, it's good.
And I went during that.
So we haven't seen it yet,
What was the
but
first word you
the
said?
one
Comment
comment that we've
hub?
heard is that the teachers then also have to create it within the elementary view.
Yeah.
So that it's gonna be a different view for them.
Like it's, like you're saying, it's the account, not the, like, when you're all turned on. So if like a teacher was to take a course through their campus, they know it's not like a, like, don't be in
I don't officially have a role here.
Yeah.
It's easier, right? I mean, it makes it easier.
Yeah,
so I
Great lessons, everybody.
Remember those days? Right.
Yeah.
So it just
First,
shooters, clear comments, I put it up there, find it, and now we
That
can
K through
do that
12.
down. We also, our ITCs are actually doing that as well, so they're building some of the modules, and that makes it easier for them.
Makes it much more organic.
With some, exemplar lessons and things like that. What
Yeah,
else? What do you
right.
think?
We also
Do you do?
highlighted
I think it's in our division, it's so big with such as management, it's given us an excuse to really talk about equity and resources and equity.
Another kind of paperless.
Yeah, and even if it is a paper, it's not gonna put it digital.
conjunction
And
with Canvas.
What do you find like, it was based on teacher, what kind of conversations is that stem? So it's sort of like,
think we got
we
one
need
neighbor
funding
one
here
day.
for this because this is
Yeah,
a
in May, they
here.
commit
or-
using
Well, it's not as much as funding as it is,
Comment up there on the Google
we're
Doc.
starting, I think this is an invitation to have a
Using
conversation around the
K through
educational
two.
experiences
K-
that
K1.
students have
Okay,
across the
okay.
division.
They were used to using
And if I go to this high school and
Last
there's
year.
an expectation in 11th grade,
Our
go
numbers.
They have
to this high school and there's a
seesaw
whole
Don't
nother,
forget to tweet the hashtag.
having a very hard time
but
If you
having
do
Canvas
some
and
of
supporting
these,
teachers to.
because
some of them
she
are
really
really
hasn't been set up the way it
Really
is.
kind of set a foundation.
and get
Didn't
everyone
ensure, it doesn't yet, but it could really ensure some equity.
Cycles back, back.
Especially if you find
When they
things
are
in my mind,
Yeah,
I'm also
yeah.
thinking,
Because there's
I
things that
manage
are
our ed tech,
posted
like
relative
applications.
in the Canvas
And I
account,
think
but
we
the
find
reality
that
is
it
that
really helps us
materials are
know
provided.
that we're finding ed tech applications that do really well with Canvas.
So
We
they're
don't have it
isolated
isolated
on
to
it.
necessarily one building, right?
When they started,
Yeah,
though, did they
start
prefer
rounding up
Canvas?
and we'll come back to.
So that's things
Anything
that we have to take back to the central office is, hey, guess what, now, this is what they're saying.
We are doing,
Yeah,
just a little side note, that I was like,
elementary for K, are your kids?
K-12, we have to K-12.
We're at a crossroads with our district right now because
That's been
they,
very, very positive.
they're trying to say that Canvas can do it and Seesaw can't, so they're trying to phase Seesaw out and we're like, especially for someone who's coming from the secondary.
I hope that we have as much.
There's so many benefits
We were kind of so far down the path that we were able to do that. On Canvas, excellent perception.
You know, we're in the best part of the state.
So you're talking about Canvas is entirely too much, right? Is that what you're saying? Or
Okay, so
I just wanna make sure.
last thoughts we wanna
They
add?
navigated it last year. They made it right.
Canvas.
And then it was easy to transition that.
But see,
Well,
so
I'm gonna
functionality is
little
better for the
overtime,
students.
but I'm gonna
Because you have to
bring us all back
For
together.
our earliest learners, yeah.
And
Yes.
love the discussions, love what I'm seeing on the charts right now. And I think we're going to have lots to discuss. I don't know if we have too much time to share out back and forth between each part of the state though. Because we've got a packed presentation, so I wanna make sure I get to everything. So the next method that I'm gonna show is number 29, different ways of digesting learning materials. So this one I chose to have the teacher feature that goes along with this, and I hope she might be in the chat with us. Shauna Palmer is a middle school teacher in Rockbridge, and she is a Canvas guru. And she has a pretty extensive course, that's why I've labeled this a Go Big. If you show this video, she's got a lot of stuff going on in her class, but it's all doable. So she has a way of sharing, for example, she has her lecture that you can do in video form or text form, so multiple representations. And she has a lot of different choices that students can go through in her course. So this one also touches on the organization. So the hashtags that we have used for each strategy, we're trying to group them. So if you know someone really, you know, they need to work on organization. Let's focus on these. Hopefully that will help you tailor your work if you use these resources. But we've got student directions, teacher directions, and video. And then one of the other Go Big resources is from, oh shoot, I need to change it to Instructure Con. Typo, sorry. But that video presentation, it shows you how to use the studio video tool. So a lot of times, you know, if someone is transitioning to an LMS, they might have text-based. So they're uploading a PowerPoint, they're uploading a PDF. But you can easily have an alternate way of presenting the information by doing your own screen recording. So just using Studio right in Canvas, you can do your own recording and have a video. I mean, maybe even if you're using manipulatives that you're just showing right there, it's still, that would get you easily and quickly to multiple representations and ways of digesting learning materials. So what I'm going to do next is have her tell you herself, but I need to make sure I share sound. Oh, that. It's a longer video in the resource guide, and I would use this if you've got someone that needs an introduction to Canvas. I think this one's a good overview of a completed course, but I will let Shauna tell us herself.
Hello, my name is Shauna Palmer, and I work for Rockbridge County Public School District. I'm here to just, I like most about Canvas is that you can design your course any way you want to. We take it in the module section, and I've divided mine into units, and I did it by units of content. And here I have only created one in this platform. I have another platform where I've created all my units, and I'm trying to put them over to material, and they have links to the lessons and the test, or they can just go through the modules and go straight down. So here's a lesson 1. I've designed it all so it has a name, it has the learning targets, it has instructions of how to accomplish it. Here I have the lecture. They just click on that and they go through that, and it's in an ed puzzle where they answer all the questions about the lecture in a video on ed puzzle. Then they have some assignment instructions, and then a self-check quiz that they do. And then they can go on to lesson 2. Here's the learning targets. Here's the discussion material. We always go through the driving question. Here's the things that they need to know in content. So there's the instructions, the embedded videos, instructions, embedded lesson content for each one of those founding documents, and then instructions for their assignments, their notes, their graphic organizer, their tombstone activity, and again, a self-check. And so You have a lot of option to bring things into the course and embed them into the course. Again, learning targets, discussion material, instructions. Here I've embedded into the course a playlist that was created in Google Slides. And then each one of the activities, this is an outside video, but I've embedded it into the assignment section here in Canvas. This one, you just click this article, click the slideshow, click the game, click the notes, click the quizzes, and it takes you to those places automatically. The good thing I like about this is I can go around the classroom, I can look at students who are completing it, watch them, help them. It allows me in the classroom to have more one-on-one attention than if I were doing each one of those things separately within the classroom. And then
I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this is that she in her video is modeling that this is driving her face-to-face instruction. So lots of videos in there and lots of things for students to interact with, which at first I think a lot of teachers think, oh, this is going to be overwhelming, but her students do very well in it and dive right into it because she's got the great organizational structure. She's modeling how to organize and name things with the right naming conventions to help students navigate. And then she's going to tell us a little bit about how that frees her up to interact with students face-to-face.
Modules come in, and then we had a learning menu, which is another Google slide presentation. It's like task cards. The students just go to it, they make a copy of it and complete that. It's online. And then I can see that if you use the external link, I can see that right in here in Canvas, and I don't have to go off any other place or worry about them not having changed the permissions so that I could see it.
So I think she's touched on a lot of things that we're really happy to have her in our district to have this expertise and share with us. But hopefully this will be a good strategy or a good resource that you can use to connect with your teachers, especially if it is a civics teacher, just what it's like when you see your content up on the screen when you're learning a new strategy. So thanks for letting me feature her in this. And next we are we're going to go into another discussion prompt. So we'd love to know what are the things that you're struggling with? What are the walls that you're hitting? And this could be wide open for using your LMS in the face-to-face classroom, for scaling up your use of the LMS. What is 2021 like right now? So we'll do another, I think we can do 8 minutes on this one, and then we'll come back to our whole group.
So I think we started to touch on some of those things earlier, talking about all right, challenges that you're now finding. Maybe you went from virtual instruction where they kind of had to use this. What challenges are you finding in those face-to-face classes?
I was in a classroom after second grade, they had this so
because they have to have hands-on instruction.
It's coming out of having to use it. Exactly. And now they don't have to use it. So there's kids that just say, but there are still some. They should be done in a computer.
It's great, but like,
That helps Mary, you see some.
Use the computer, kind of take care of it.
It's just like, I can't tell you how many times I've had that
And I think we're also trying to ensure
not even sure.
Maximizes to create content.
Yeah.
Or to just learn how to use it.
it's not just about like everything that Canvas can be used as that hub for a lot of
that you don't have time.
things.
Also, that
That doesn't pertain to imagine a kid play or
they work together
or any of those things that are essential for that paper, which is certainly one that we
also thinking why are we doing this? Why is it? Correct, absolutely.
So you can show them how they're going to be. The kids are not.
Interestingly enough, I think our pre-K, our basic users of our LMS because then they can really.
It's not really
meant
to train with their parents.
Yeah, right. So today, pretty.
No,
Especially with high school, they're responsible.
Yeah, it's not for the teacher, it's for the student. Like, I hate, like, you don't wanna tell your teachers. But it is, it's kind of like, you wanna sit and say this is about your students. Like, this is for the betterment of your kids. You're gonna say that to a teacher. You know,
What other
but
challenges
it's
do you see?
the situation you sit in.
There's little ones that need that, may not be trained to that.
Teaching virtual learning, not everything can be.
I think that we have an opportunity.
Like teacher knowledge.
And this is just my thinking for next year.
They can't find a
We have an
balance
opportunity to make
of using it as
a better thing when we start the school year off. Thinking that technology is just like teaching the kids how to line up, how
For
to
this
walk to
lesson
the
for this
gym,
unit, I'm
how
gonna
to sit in the
or for
cafeteria.
this lesson
And
and
those
this
kinds
time,
of
we need to do
so if you're having your kids
I think
from
it's
day
having that
one,
time
we're gonna
set
sign
that
in
time
and we're
for our
going to
teachers
go.
to know.
So that's kind of that balance too, right? Yes,
And
exactly.
instead of
So
introducing yourself
really
in
dependent
some
on,
sort of
did you have anybody that
carpet
had a, they
activity,
wanted to continue doing
activity,
instruction?
you're gonna go on to
Something like
campus
that,
and do
or
a
do you
discussion
like-
board. But that has to start from
Well,
day
at
one.
least
It has to be something that the teachers, you know, yes.
we have.
And I think what has happened is, particularly for us, because Kansas is new for us,
We have 4 teachers that are doing virtual.
they see it as an additional thing to their schedule right now. But if they were to do it at the beginning of the school year,
I mean, I have no.
like this is the way it is, like this is just a part of our everyday. And it goes with just like the rules that we're teaching, and that would make a huge difference. And we have an opportunity with that as long as we could deal with
Here's my
that.
lectures,
The right
the
way.
stuff is on Canvas.
But every year we start the year with modules and teach the kids how to use.
Collaborate out.
Here's how you use a discussion board. So here's how you use media. Here's how you submit an assignment, you know, click here, do this.
That's hard to do.
We implement this through, we have advisory classes that are like 30 to 45 minutes. Technology day, or those types of.
Is that,
Is there something fancy?
we are building,
Not yet.
you know, like, we're talking on the keyboard, you know, how are we getting things out? Just being able to build this.
Maybe it depends on,
Going back to the wall.
depends on what was already created.
How long have you
Maybe
been?
reevaluate
How
the
that's
face-to-face classroom.
You guys are just starting, right?
We're working to get there, we're not there yet. We're the foundation starting to be like,
Well, they're similar size to this.
And those
videos can be the same.
that are very similar, I think they instruction like Howard. Support teachers.
Our principals should create their own Canvas page for communication with teachers. So we, as teachers, would begin to feel like they know what we're going through, because now instead of just sending me a newsletter, you have to go into their Canvas page to get their newsletter. Instead of finding me in a link on an email, you have to, and it makes, I mean, the principals aren't gonna wanna hear it, they're gonna feel the way the teacher. And they need to your point, they need to model what the teachers are doing. And that would be a big,
Well, we actually heard a little bit about that.
supporting that, to know the principals sit and go, I know how you feel at this point.
Right, so.
It's hard to look at a teacher and go, hey, you should do that. I'm not. I just, again, who's gonna say, I'm not, that is the, I think that's the reality, is they should.
But I think it goes all the way on, like, it's not just the building principals, it's the people in central office. It's the people that's
Yeah, and that's, I think, the struggle when you're in a role that
nobody
you're
talks about
looking
the
for
LMS until it's wrong. Like,
consistency. I mean, that was a
like
huge,
building
I think that's the feedback we got from families is that the consistency from one course to the next.
Things like that.
So,
Because
from
it's
one
one
teacher,
grade.
right,
And even when you try.
and we were really, did a lot of what do it.
I had time with my
recommendations,
administrator
and
just
we had
on
to,
that
we
topic.
didn't quite go blueprint, we really looked at it, we really did. But we did go blueprint, but we did do some district mandated, especially in virtual instruction.
So how, if you're
Yeah, this is
responsible
what
for
you have to
instruction,
do. Now with the new interface,
that instruction.
that, yes, but they had to use what we wanted to do. And then they could tweak it, and also didn't take away anything that they made
It's a
right.
city of leadership.
I don't think it's so.
We had a template followed last year.
Yeah, but I think it does go back to even the time, because like, in Schoology at least, we have like a school
I would
page,
say,
but and
one
your
of our other
resources,
big
they
challenges
say
is
you
the
can put posts up there for teachers and students and families if they have connected.
yes, this is
Not
not
using resources, so they can add links and
also trying
As a vision
to,
decision,
we have a separate redirect them back to group, like this is really what's best for
and
students.
a course
And families.
for teachers.
I think that is one lesson that.
But often
One of the challenges that
principals
we'll
also
see
want
is
to
strongly
stand
like,
behind
hopefully
the
get them from
because
now.
on the ILC to develop that team. So once it's done, then I mean, I don't know, there's time is always the issue.
Allow that administrator to feel that time.
And not necessarily, not necessarily on
It was a very
conversation.
important create.
Are not
So
keys,
why do
they
you
just,
have?
they might get
How much
themselves.
does, we have a lot of
They want to.
We have a lot of support. Not to mention that we can't support all of it.
we have a lot of curriculum and development support getting that. I was. Yes, correct.
That's not.
So, yeah, I don't have the support.
That's not good, 'cause we just said it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And they're like, huh?
So it's all do as necessary because you're building it. That was my job as that was my school. And everybody else.
That's the easy way. No. All of the and all that kind of questions.
Awesome, thank you guys for great discussion, so you need yours. I need
So you did it. I'm gonna ask that question. We have our meeting next week.
Like all of that.
We're gonna transition back to our whole group presentation, and if you want the clicker, you can use it, but Karen is going to chat with us about one of my favorite methods that I think really just makes your LMS powerful, and I'll turn it on over to her.
This is gonna build off of what Joy shared with the in her slide with the organization piece of Canvas or any LMS. But I think part of our role in your roles especially, but also as a VSTE Coaching Crew, is that our focus is always on like instruction first and student learning first, and then the tool that supports that. So I'm gonna go a little bit a different direction. I'm gonna show you an example of the instructional tool that we're using first, and then show you how we can put that into Canvas to make the work that you're doing as a teacher more efficient. Okay, so I'm gonna start by sharing, within the tool I'm gonna use is in Canvas Mastery Paths. So it's a tool to support differentiation and then also helping the teacher role in providing students more personalized experiences. The content example I'm going to share with you is a content example from our elementary school, a group of teachers who are working on competency-based personalized learning grant work. And all of the instructional models that we're using with this group is applicable to any classroom. So the backward design, students are working on a project for a unit, and they have an impact project that they're working on throughout the unit, but then their content is chunked into topic-based sections. So for earth structures, they have 3 sections that they're really working with. The first is plate tectonics, earth structure, earth layers. Then they have the rocks and rock cycle. Then they have weathering erosion. So whatever unit you're thinking about, think of it as a big unit that's chunked into smaller pieces. And the playlist then is designed in those small chunks. And students work through this learning cycle for every chunk of content. And that's important when you're organizing your Canvas. So that goes back to that organization piece. Having teachers not think that they have to have everything just in one long module. I think that can be overwhelming for students. So the way that this is designed is first, students have a pre-assessment. Based on their pre-assessment, again, it's just on that chunk of content, so it's just on one or 2 topics. Then they have time where they have a differentiated learning path where they are driving their learning. So they are the ones who are making meaning of the content. They might be reading an article or looking at the textbook. They might have a piece of paper, it doesn't have to be digital. They might have a YouTube video. They have those must-do and optional activities, but they're based on their pre-assessment score and the background knowledge that they bring to the unit. So once they take their pre-assessment, and I'm just kind of showing you how we built this, a lot of it is that teacher planning. I think they're more comfortable planning, and I am too, in Google first, and then how do I transition that to Canvas? So I'm going to show you that process. This would be the differentiated learning menu, and this could also be put into Canvas with the Google LTI integration. And I'll also show you how to make it a mastery pass. So all of the students start here. So they have 2 must-do activities, but based on their pre-assessment or background knowledge, they're either at an emerging level with this content, or they're ready, developing is a little bit more on grade level. And then students who come in with a lot of background knowledge are advancing up beyond the grade level standards. So this is very similar to any choice board you may have seen in the past. If they were going to do this as a Google LTI assignment, the directions are for them to color in with the paint bucket tool the 2 that they've chosen so that you know the 2 that they did. But I'm going to show you how to make just a very similar activity using Mastery Pass and Canvas. And all of these resources are linked on the
Everything's on the slide deck and in the resource guide while she's getting that ready. And I love with Mastery Pass and Canvas, a lot of times you think of it being driven by a quiz, but it could be a teacher graded assignment. So you can overtly put them into the groups that you want them to be on, or that you've got that data from the pre-assessment to be.
Yeah, so you can select your mastery path that students go, they can be automatically assigned based on a rubric score or a quiz score. And for this example module, there is a quiz. This one's in new quizzes. And then when you are in your new quizzes, you do have to select that you're using it for a mastery path. And the important thing to remember when you're creating these, it's a lot of work ahead of time for the teacher. They do have to have their assignments, their differentiated assignment built out. So before I go to assign it as a mastery path, I have to have the emerging, developing, and advancing assignment there. So it's a little bit of pre-planning. And then the important thing that we learned along the way with this is the teachers are pretty comfortable building an assignment. Where we got a little bit tricky when we were teaching teachers how to do this is in the setup. So the way this is structured is that all students have those links that they have to do. They can do them in any order. They don't have to work through this in any order, but they have links that they have to do. And then they have the choices A, B, or C, and these are all linked. And then this one is a text box entry where they say whether they did A, B, or C. Those are their choices. And then here's where it becomes different from a regular assignment. When you're in the assign to, automatically you'll see that everyone is selected. If you click in the bar there, what you want to do is change everyone. So you want to take out the everyone and you want to choose Mastery Pass. It took us a while to make sure that was working. And the way that you can check yourself is when you're back in the module view, a teacher will know that they have it turned on because these the Mastery Pass shows up, and then you get to set the scale for what determines if a student is working at what level. And then I also shared on the slideshow, again, it's just always thinking about that instruction piece first, like helping teachers understand like what you're doing that's working well in your classroom and how to just make a slight shift to make it work more efficiently using the technology. So there's a link here to the slideshow for this KWL chart, and it walks students through how to document their learning. So as they're watching a video or reading a book, they're documenting on graphic organizers the facts that they're learning too. Any questions for me about Mastery Pass?
That was awesome. That's the first time I've seen it done with the new quizzes. It's a little different with the classic quizzes.
I will say
That's why it didn't work, is because I needed to do the mastery path by assign to. Now it makes sense. It's always helpful when you see something. We were talking about this last night and it just went right over my head. So thank you for, one of the great things about being in the coaching crew is that we get to learn from each other in awesome ways. And since we are close on time, I'm going to go ahead and transition to have Patty come up here and show us another strategy. But if you want to share your the prompt, if you want to type on the Google Doc, I'd love to hear from you all on the prompt that was on the previous slide. So that I'll set your all right, so we're good online. Can you see my screen?
I have a PC. She's going to have me on an Apple.
We can see it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm hoping I'll be able to figure out regular. Okay. All right, I just don't do Apple. Okay.
Windows. It looks.
Oh,
I'm glad that I confused you.
Okay, there you go. It looks all pretty. She's got it all decorated. Anyway, so I did something pretty basic. We in Manassas Park, we've been using Canvas for about 7 years now. And when we rolled it out 7 years ago, we rolled it out to all of our schools. We obviously, had a lot of focus at the secondary level, but we wanted to make sure that everyone realized that this was the LMS. This was our first true LMS that we had. So we didn't do any Google Classroom or anything like that. Canvas was what we went with. So one of our hardest things to sort of get folks to understand is that it could be used in the elementary classroom as well. I think that was one of our biggest challenges, especially back then, where it really was just sort of that higher ed and secondary view. They've come a long way. As a matter of fact, we actually rolled out the Canvas for elementary interface for K-12, pre-K-12, this year because of the changes that Canvas made. But this tip number 21 was just using emojis and buttons for a visual representation for young learners who can't read and ask them to follow along. So you probably already know a lot of these. I just did a little tips and tricks kind of screenshot to show you some of the ways that we do it. So we were really important, especially for our pre-K and our kindergarten classes last year that were virtual, is they wanted to make sure the students, the parents knew where they were supposed to be. So we used the little emojis that you can put in the titles of the modules, and when you're creating your module components, and you can put that little emoji in, and then that way they knew, well, this is all of our plant units, so you're only going to go to the ones that have the little flower on them. How many of you have ever done this? Are you guys doing this? How many of you know how to do it? those that you don't know how to do it, what you do is you right click when you're building that title, and actually now a little menu comes up that says emoji, and then you can pick it. Now, I will have to tell you that 2 days after I volunteered to do this for this team, Chrome pushed out an update.
Black and white.
And they're all black and white right now. So my IT director has already reached out. We've already submitted something. Did what?
It's a font module or something.
Correct.
Back end,
And they're saying they're gonna resolve it. Now,
Yeah.
I went over, of course, if you go to Edge or Firefox, it works, but that doesn't help if you're on Chromebooks with students, right? So just know that that's sort of a caveat of something you want to consider, but a great way to kind of direct them in that module structure as they're learning. Another thing, of course, is using basic images. This is the Canvas for Elementary announcement feature, and we like to use that homepage or that announcement to sort of do a prompt or what you might call a bell ringer at the upper levels. So when the kids get in, they can see that visual element, and then they can even use the images to respond to whatever it is the teachers are conveying. And then, of course, directions. Yes, so with directions, we want to make sure that they have an understanding, even though we actually use Read Speaker. And now that immersive reader is in there, we're exploring with that too, but we actually purchased a plugin called Read Speaker because immersive reader wasn't available, that actually will read the text to them. So you actually, that might even be, it's part of the directions we have. So we teach our students how to use that. But we also use icons, similar icons, so that they know, well, the magnifying glass means that's what I'm learning, basically. And the little book, that's read aloud time. Just a little screenshot. Of course, there's a read aloud video underneath of that they can then click on. And of course, kind of a tip with that is to develop those icons so that you're reinforcing those in the classroom. So you're telling the students, when you see this icon, that means it's a read aloud. So you're going to click on it. If you see this, it's an online activity like a Google assignment or something like that. So they have that visual clue to do. Now I used, and I added back on the main page, I added the main presentation. One of the resources that I added was a link to the Noun Project. Does anybody ever use that? So it is a cost, but if you go, this is the EDU link. If you go there, it's pretty reasonable. Noun Project has an icon for everything. But I also went to the session yesterday about Google, and apparently Google has now got that as well. So you might not even need to go to the Noun Project, but this is a great place to get simple, basic icons that you can recolor and resize so that they fit in the curriculum that you're doing. One of our ITCs at our K2 school, he created modules just a few weeks ago for all of our students, and he used like a little turkey so that they knew that it was the, kind of the Thanksgiving activity that they were going to do during an asynchronous day that we were having. So just kind of some tips and tricks. I also added, if you're a Schoology school, I also added the link for, I know Schoology has some new features for elementary interface with Schoology and ways you can streamline it. So I linked that there as well.
Awesome, thank you so much, and we are right at time, so I'm going to encourage you to share what you do with this with the hashtag VSTE in action, because it enters you for prizes. And remember, join us on December 15th. There's the link via Zoom. If you subscribe to the Virtual Virginia calendar, it will send you alerts, but they send a good bit of alerts, so just look at the Friday agenda. And always find us on the PLN and vote for future PD topics. Sorry, we went so close to lunch, but thank you. Have a great rest of your conference.
You're Region 4.
Grab your
catalog or your badge.
That was awesome. I'm glad you showed me how to fix that issue.